for New Ukraine. Today we will be talking not only about money, but also about the new philosophy of investment in Ukraine. Why is Ukraine attractive for investors? Why is it worth investment? Why our panelists here are doing this already? What is encouraging them? What projects are they promoting? I believe that we will have at least time for 2 questions, so please prepare those. We have an innovation from the digital domain. Those who are not very confident in terms of speaking up, you are welcome to put it in the chat. Those of you who are more confident, you can raise your hand, and if we have the time, we will make sure to answer your questions. Okay, so let me start by start with the Ukrainian investor. I truly believe that without Ukrainian entrepreneurs that set the example of being brave and investing in Ukraine, and the other foreign investors will follow the lead. Vasil, you are head of one of the most powerful companies in Ukraine, OKO. I believe that everyone here is familiar with this company. Is there anyone who doesn't know? No. But not all of you know. Not all of you know that it is not only power. The OKO is investing in various projects, starting with agriculture and ending with energy, and the main is tourism. This project is something that we will talk about it later on, and I believe that is also a symbol of the new Ukraine. It is the magnet of not only for Ukrainian tourists, but also the European tourists as well. It is also quite symbolic. Vasil, why are you not afraid to invest in Ukraine? And also, it is important for us to know what is this point of entry through your company. Why do other investors and financial institutions, how can they also invest? How do you do it? Greetings, everyone. We are sitting in the same hall as we did last year, and we announced that we have launched several projects for the investing companies of oil retail. We started energy projects, and also, as was mentioned, for agriculture, and also those for agricultural processing, and another one in the sphere of construction of a new resort. Where are we at regarding those projects? For the energy ones, we have built the first ever in Ukraine, and it's already commissioned. The first ever batteries, and they were commissioned in April. Before the end of the year, or maybe in the beginning of the next year, we will start the commissioning of the huge wind power complexes that is co-funded with the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development and the International Financial Corporation and the Black Sea Bank of the Development of Commerce. And another project that has been launched, even greater, that will cost 300 million euro. We're building a new wind power park for 190 megawatt. We are going to finish building the bioethanol plant. The main part is already constructed, and the construction works have been finished for the actual premises of the bioethanol plant, and we're going to hand it over next year, and it will start operating. And also, it will soon be a year approximately that we have been building it. We are going quite well at a good pace, and as was mentioned by Igor, we will mark this make a huge touristic mark, not only on the map of Ukraine, but also in the Central and Eastern Europe. When it comes to the incentives that we have for investing, let me mention the following. It are the opportunities that, on the other hand, are of course hampered by the war, but this war, this challenge has enabled us to discover the challenges that we had in this various spheres. So the energy sector that was created in the Soviet times, all of the generation facilities, they were huge. And unfortunately, those facilities, they have proved to be quite vulnerable. And the state and the Ministry of Energy and the top consultants have given this vector of development into decentralization of generation. I believe that from the point of view of security and the investment into a single facility and the general resilience of the system in the future and the diversification of various sources of energy, I believe that it is the right thing to do. And us, as the company that on the one hand had a market that's shrinking, and on the other hand the opportunities that emerged in another sector that is very relevant to us, we have made the decision to grow in the sectors that are relevant to us, where we have a certain point of connection and where we have expertise, and do this in a complementary way. So we are a fuel company selling gas. We also sold electricity, so we went into the electricity sector. We sold the natural gas. We went into that sector. We are a fuel company. We want to produce bioethanol that will then take us over to processing and to generating biodiesel. So for you, it's a natural process. What is also your secret? For example, people present here want to launch a big business. Is there some secret that you can share? Well, first of all, starting with 2003, we're creating this business in a very transparent way. In 2003, we had the first audit, and we were the first company in Ukraine that passed the consulting AFC program of corporate management in Ukraine. And in 2004, we started working with the international funds and signed an agreement with the Black Sea Bank of Commercial Development. Also, we had another agreement with EBRD and IFI, and so we have worked with them for such a long time. Of course, we have other partners that are banks. So one secret is something that we can take note of. So we have been working for over 20 years based on the principles of transparency. We have always stood up to our obligations, and we fulfilled the obligations even in the most difficult times when we were losing money, where we had loans for the companies. Even in 2014 or 2015, Ukraine has lost part of the territory. We have lost lots of our facilities, and nevertheless we paid back our obligations to EBRD and so on. We repaid all of our loans, and this reputation that we nourished, especially in the most difficult of times, it really affects the image of the company. If we did not have this credit history, so to say, this history of trust, we would not be able to implement these huge projects that we're doing now. So the conclusions that we may make is that transparency and reputation is the greatest advantage for the companies that will attract investment and be confidently moving ahead. Let me add to our conversation concerning EBRD. Let us hear Irina Kravchenko, one of the prerequisites is the transparency and reputation. So it is a prerequisite for the banks to be able to finance banks in Ukraine. EBRD, by the way, let me give you some praise. EBRD is one of the greatest investors in institutional investors in Ukraine, and the main aspect of our energy stability is also due to your investments and loans into the stability of the energy sector of Ukraine. A separate round of applause to EBRD for this. I'm not just praising them just for the sake of it. I hope that they will fund us one day. But the question is rather serious here. It's we realize that EBRD is funding huge, large companies and projects. What do the smaller ones do? What can they hope for? Medium or smaller companies, or those that want to grow bigger? What other prerequisites can we mention apart from the reputation and transparency in order to access EBRD funding? What's the strategy in Ukraine?
I can speak Ukrainian, but I think it will be more convenient for me if I can speak English. For those of you who don't understand English, at the back of this room you can see headsets, so would you kindly check them out? But the floor goes to you anyway.
Це, я думаю... sorry.
Just let's switch to English. So it's my fault, sorry.
First of all, I'm very happy to be with our client who already said about us, and my colleague Elena Voloshina, with whom we work closely on supporting the private sector and private businesses. It's true, we have a lot of large projects, but we have a lot of small projects. And small projects in the private sector, they could be of different size. And if you look at our achievements to date, actually our financing since the beginning of the war was 50-50 between public sector and private sector. Do we pick up only large companies? No. I think they are probably more visible. Yeah, Vasil, like your project. And we are happy that he knows a lot of secrets and so brave to go into different industries, not only your primary, yeah, where you started business. And we follow the leaders, yeah. And this is through actually larger projects. We also have a bigger impact on the smaller companies, yeah, which are your suppliers related. But is EBRD only about large companies? Of course not, because we have a number of projects, a big number of SMEs, which we are reaching through our special programs through partner banks. Because, you know, outreach from EBRD, smaller companies, it's very time consuming. It will be not an efficient way, and we would like to be as efficient, as quick as possible. And for that, we have a number of programs, SME programs, which we support through partner banks, we call them. Yeah, we have relationship with 14 banks in Ukraine, and we have different type of programs. Some of them targeting women in business, some of them energy efficiency, because energy, as you said, yes, is absolutely crucial for our, I would say, normal work, survival, and functioning, and livelihood. So we have veteran support, and then we have also advisory for SMEs. So those companies, as you said, of course they cannot compete and afford, for instance, even audit or these international financial standards as larger clients, but we have special SME advisory program. And this advisory program, it helps companies to get access to increase export to other markets, to improve its financial management, human resources, all aspects, whenever they're experiencing in their areas, we can provide assistance. You know, I can talk for a long time about the EBRD, so if you wish to stop me, you just let me know.
A small interactive question.
Yeah.
Who already has applied or knows about this program for EBRD, or probably has some cooperation? Just raise our hands.
Maybe invited just big companies.
You see, a lot of potential clients. Please don't hesitate. That's why we are here.
Yes, and actually I can tell you that two of my colleagues, one responsible for the corporate sector, which covers both larger and smaller companies, will be permanently based here. The name is Lesia Kuzmenka, and the person who is responsible for our assistance to SMEs, specifically, all this advisory and special program, also will be based here. It's Katerina Rik, so I think it will help you, for interactions, questions, and probably will speed up, the
Yes,
entire process.
yes.
Yeah, we're
We
trying.
also be in a queue there. Just
Look, I also don't like that we are currently just parachuting. Like I came for 3 days, I came again. I wish I can be will be allowed to spend more time, but I think time will come.
Yes, please,
Yeah.
because Ukrainian companies, the
Yeah.
companies we just doing their business now in these really tough circumstances, they really need for support, and so the opportunity that EBRD has.
We do. You know that we are not, how you say, afraid. We're never afraid, whatever circumstances are. We always were in the lead supporting of the real economy, and since the beginning, just right from the start.
Please don't forget. I know that we do a lot with the public sector, but please a bit more focus on the private.
This year, for instance, 45 projects were in the private sector we finance, and only 7 in the public sector.
Oh, that's cool. The round of applause.
Yeah.
And now, а зараз я хочу переключитись.
At this point, I would like to switch to, let me comment on what I have just heard. When we were just beginning to work, as a matter of factly about the companies that we work with and which not. Now, when we began to work with EBRD, we were 15 times smaller as a company than we are right now, 15-fold smaller. So back then, realistically, we were just an SME of current terms, mid-sized corporate business in the prevalent understanding of the Ukrainian large-sized businesses. Therefore, it's absolutely possible, that's an interesting tip, to share. Moreover, it seems to me that the sentiments of the policies of the bank itself, both at EFC and EBRD, is to work much more than with SMEs than to work with large-sized companies. All right. I'd try to believe that.
That's easy. Зараз хочу передати слово.
At this point, I would like to give the floor to the only representative of the government on our panel, Daniil Getmantsev, a very brave one who feared not to come on our investment panel, which is filled with entrepreneurs who sometimes treat the figure of Danila Getmantsev in a very ambiguous way. So because he's in charge of the committee at the parliament on tax policies, and some evil-minded individuals say that he exerts a negative influence on taxation policy, and not only on that. So he's a kind of a gray eminency in the Ukrainian policy. So you will have to answer on behalf of the whole government. So the first question is, what is the Ukrainian economy and the state policy lacking? What is in the way of foreign investments in the first place? And how are you maintaining this policy in the warring country, which basically has to fill its budget, ensure budget revenues are coming, and put up resistance to the largest warring country in the world? And we understand that that takes a lot of money. And on the other hand, we have entrepreneurs who also have to be cognizant of the fact that taxation policy needs to be foreseeable, because they, in the final count, fill this budget. So how can we attract investments? What is in the way, and what is your policy overall? Thank you. Greetings to everyone. Glory to Ukraine. Well, I'll try to merge it all in one answer concerning investments, what the country is doing, what not, and what needs improving, to make sure everything will happen more efficiently. In actual fact, I would like to call upon everyone to invest in Ukraine. I do believe that now we have the more favorable conditions than in many countries in the world, despite the war. It's not just to do with the average salaries in our country, which is below the level of that in Europe, but it's also about different fields opening up. First of all, this is defense, tech, IT, agricultural, food processing, and agriculture as such. But besides that, there are impediments in the way. I always speak openly and frankly to businesses about the issues that we have. We cannot create victories where they are not. And the first problem we are faced with is the war. It's undeniable, let's face it. No one is expecting from a country which is experiencing the largest war conflict since 1944 to see queues of businessmen with suitcases wanting to invest in this country, because the war means huge risks. And it's true. So the answer is, what we need to increase investments, it's peace. We are very much hopeful that it'll come sooner rather than later, but we are getting different kinds of news from our international fields. Accordingly, despite this risk that we cannot influence, what can we do in order to improve foreign direct investment coming to Ukraine, which is declining? For example, this year, this has been a little over $1 billion. So this is a sure decline in comparison to 2024 and even 2023. And we are regarding this with a great deal of concern. These numbers do worry us, and we are doing a lot to improve these results. However, first let me mention what needs to be done better and where we are clearly underperforming. So first, deshadowing, ensuring a level playing field for everyone without an exception in our market. We cannot count on investments coming from the West if Western investors have to learn the rules of how to avoid tax paying, to be steadfast in this market. And it's a great comfort and a solace to me that in 2025, white business is very loud, articulate, and consistent in its requiring and demanding different must-have things from the government, something that I have been trying to do and approximate for quite some time, the deshadowing and the rule of law in the area of economy and public finance. This is something that the business is clearly demanding right now. Vasil Daniluk, in presence here, he will definitely correct me if I'm wrong, that the white areas of the different sectors of economy are clearly articulating to the government what needs to be done to ensure the level playing field. Either we will have to make the black ones subdue and pay equal taxes, or exempt everyone from taxes, because it's impossible to live in a situation when someone pays VAT and others don't. Cannot function like this. Therefore, it strikes me that this is a cornerstone for everyone, that the country needs to ensure deshadowing and the rule of law. It's all about efficient institutions, because only efficient institutions will contribute to true deshadowing rather than just imitating that. And it's also about some other things, which is deregulation. It needs to become more effective. This is our fault as the authorities that 7th year running into this issue. We are still talking about deregulation. We have numerous reports of different commissions saying to us that we have to cancel a lot of more than 1,000 different permits. The Ministry of Economy drew up a lot of conclusions on that, and I'm very much happy that the new Prime Minister and the new government dealing with this directly, and we already have a roadmap of how they're going to repeal all of these permits that we are only paying lip service to.
And debureaucratization is also part of this process. And next is, of course, the Euro integration of Ukraine. It is something that we're working on, and we have specific successes, achievements in this regard, both from the subjective and objective reasons. Over the last recent 4 years, so much has been done, more than before, even on the political level, where the political struggle have returned, and it is now happening in the very bad shape in the parliament. Therefore, we do not have any contradictions regarding Euro integration. We're moving rather fast. Of course, we want to be even more accelerated, but the corresponding results are there. We have passed the screening. Just two more, very briefly, they're very linked. The second question, okay, I will just call on them and then I will open them. It's cheap money, it's something that we mentioned, and insuring against war risks. Okay, we will make a note of this, and during the second round, I will get back to you and I will ask what else can be done better by the state. But today, let me give the floor to our foreign guests, and let us start with Edward.
Commissioner for International Affairs for the city of New York. It's the ninth biggest economy of the world. Edward was a lawyer, investor, and strategist. Has spent more than 3 decades in the intersection of business, politics, and diplomacy. So now, just Edward, the first and simple questions: how you see Ukraine and the future of Ukraine from the United States? What's Ukraine doing right? What's Ukraine doing wrong? What could be interesting for American investors here? And the one more really important detail, that now Edward is working and raising a fund focused on Ukraine, and $500 million fund. So it's also interesting. So how you see Ukraine from the abroad, and like in general, probably on second question afterwards, we'll see what specific projects you're really interested in.
First of all, thank you, Igor, for allowing me to join this prestigious panel. Also, thank you to the forum for inviting us all. I, as the former commissioner of New York City, had one of, in many ways, the easiest jobs because attracting investors to New York and its companies is obviously not as difficult as attracting companies and investment into a place where there's a war. But there's a reason why I'm here, and the reason why I'm here is that, as I've mentioned to not just many of the people that have been in this building, but over the last 3 years, that Ukraine has the opportunity of being the economic engine for Europe. Not only is Ukraine filled with one of the best educated populations in Europe, but also one of the most technologically advanced in terms of education. This is a country that has the ability to become a leader, not just for the region, but I think globally. And when I look at Ukraine, I'd like to note that while I'm the token American on this panel, I was born in Ukraine, and I left in times of the Soviet Union. So when I saw in 1991 the collapse of the Soviet Union, many people asked me, why don't you come to this region and help this region advance financially? I chose to stay in America, but I'm not going to give up this opportunity for the second time.
Yeah.
And I do see not only that there's interest from the United States and interest from the European Union, but the interest is significant, and the interest is such that I can tell you why someone from one of the largest economies in the world is here today, because the opportunities that exist here, whether it's below ground or above ground, are very hard to match anywhere in the world. And some people will say that I'm attracted to war because I've also spent a little bit of time doing similar type of work in Israel. The opportunity here, because of population and its size, as well as what is available, as I said, both below ground and above ground, is very hard to match anywhere in the world. I believe when this war is over, that anyone that has not experienced what I've seen in the last, and this is my second time visiting during the war, but if you haven't experienced the people and the opportunities, you're going to be missing out as an investor, regardless of what you're investing in, because the sectors that exist in Ukraine are very hard to match anywhere around the globe.
Thank you so much. Just round of applause for being here, to being brave, and just and for not giving up, just to change this country. And now I want just to switch to another big investor in Ukraine, more than $1 billion. The company Nexo investing in Ukraine already. Most of interest is in telecom and mining. Probably you know that just one of the biggest producer of titan, not only in Ukraine but also in Europe, as it was privatized. We see, I hope, successfully. And as I really want just to see what's your plan. But first of all, why you are here? Why not afraid to invest into Ukraine right now?
Igor, first of all, thanks for the invitation. So, Nexo Holding is an international Dutch-based group of companies with operations in 11 countries on 4 continents. And our main areas of activities are telecommunication, mining, cement and construction materials, and IT and high tech. And of course, energy, including oil and gas and renewables. Ukraine has always been a country of strategic interest for us. And we truly believe in the potential of Ukrainian economy and its people. And we also hope and pray for the soonest peace treaty. And once the war is over, we're 100% confident that the Ukrainian economy will boom. In Ukraine, we're proud owners of Vodafone Ukraine, one of the largest telecommunication operators that provides connectivity uninterrupted and sustainable to millions of Ukrainians during such challenging times. And we continue to invest around $100 million every year to sustain and develop our telecom business. With acquisition of UMCC, we stepped into a new area for us, but an area of very strategic importance globally. That's titanium business. And as you mentioned, it's not only one of the 10 biggest in Europe, I believe they're one of the 10 biggest in the world. And we acquired that for $92 million, and we have a comprehensive investment program that will allow us to unlock its full potential. And we're talking about hundreds of millions to do it. So why we're here? Because we believe in the country and believe in its potential. And we feel very comfortable here, regardless of all the challenges and complexities. We feel the support of Ukrainian government that are opening investment opportunities and they're open for dialogue. So we'd like to thank them for that. We appreciate the support and resilience of Ukrainian people that work in our team, in Vodafone, in UMCC. And I would like to thank each and every one team member of Nexo and Vodafone and UMCC for their constant support and efforts. So I believe the answer is very simple. So that's why we're here.
Oh, this is really good. Just a round of applause for the investors. Just I think all Ukrainian people who really appreciate for investing in this hard time, because who help us in the hard time will have double gain in the good time. So we will pay you back for sure. So now, Alyona, I want just to switch to you because it's my favorite panelist. She's unfortunately not here, but it's also one of the biggest investor in Ukraine, especially during the full invasion. IFC, who Alyona is more than 20 years develop Ukrainian economy with IFC. So what's different, or what's do you doing now, or what's your instruments? Why you so active now? Because just tell us why you're so optimistic about Ukraine.
Дуже дякую, Ігор. Дуже приємно.
Thank you so much, Igor. It's great to hear you. Unfortunately, I was not able to speak in English. I would appreciate that. But okay, I will stick to Ukrainian and I will let the interpreters do their job. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. But it is not the first time for me, but I'll try. Anyway, since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we have done something that we have never done before, didn't do before the war. We invested $2.7 billion in Ukrainian economy. It's much more than we did before the war. We also believe in Ukraine. We believe in its private sector. We are the only institution that is focused on the development of the private sector. We support private enterprises that will drive the economy. As we work towards recovery of Ukraine, the private sector needs to be account for at least 1/3 or even a greater share of it. Because we believe that 50% of recovery can be funded by the private sector. So our goal is to help the Ukrainian private sector and also introduce the foreign one to support the Ukrainian economy. Let me suggest a few examples. I really love attending panel discussions with my clients, because I will not be able to say it better than Vasil did, and it is very heartwarming and it's very exact what Vasil said. So along with the OCO company, we managed to conduct the first project in the sector of renewable energy. We funded the project that he mentioned. After the long-term cooperation, we knew each other very well. We have survived very difficult times that he also recalled today, but we did it in a dignified manner and we remained good partners, and this enabled us to move forward to those projects along with OCO in a rather non-usual sector for them. And I hope that we will do even more wonderful projects together. We also do support the agricultural sector. We have invested $500 million in the agricultural sector. We support the traders, and via them, we are able to reach small farmers, the smaller agricultural actors. We also support the processors like MHP, Astarta, and others. And we do a lot in the sphere of supporting export and import through our funding program via Ukrainian banks. Another example is the support of a foreign investor, a big one, at JJ. It's a French company that made an investment during the war into the Ukrainian infrastructure, and we believe that it was really needed for us to support this important investment. We are the largest investor for Unity Horizon because we do believe that Ukraine requires not only loan funds but also the funds that can be qualified as direct investment. That's why we are supporting Horizon, and along with them we have made 3 small investments. And sometimes people say that IFC as well as EBRD they are looking only at large projects, but it's not really so. We do reach the smaller projects indirectly via partnership with banks. We provide risk-sharing facilities to the banks because they need an access to a larger larger pool of smaller and medium companies. That's why we're getting into partnership with the banks, and then they, in their turn, will reach out to smaller and medium facilities. We do the same with Horizon and private equity. We are investing Horizons and Mirotech and Flyer One and IFC are also investing along with the Horizon. Another very important point is something that it is not only about us making money and creating this demonstration effect as we support some companies. There is also a mandate to create the conditions for investors to come, not only those that we support, but also those that are sitting there at your panel discussion, and also others. Therefore, we're working in this direction as well. And today, as you know, we are a strategic counselor of the state of Ukraine for strategic partnership, and even now during the war, we're providing consultations about 2 port concessions.
Now we are at a stage of announcing a tender, and there's a great deal of interest even now, regardless of the conditions. There's a great deal of interest on behalf of foreign investors in these concessions. Super. On this optimistic note, I would like to stop you because we only have 15 minutes left. And I would like also to hear other distinguished guests on our panel. Thank you very much indeed for everything that you are doing. Give our regards to IFC because this is of great concern. Another round of plaudits to IFC for their investment making. Now let me get back to you, Vasil. Anyway, all of us have heard that you are investing in energy, so a small question, just purely on my behalf. Do you believe that this winter, regardless of all the shelling, the Ukrainian energy will stand? Because we have heard a lot of statements made by public officials and institutions on behalf of the Ministry of Energy, but I would like to hear your personal statement as an insider. It heavily depends on the intensity of shelling, on the efficiency of protections and defenses, because there's a type of equipment that can go out of order. And it's a question of not being able to replace it, because its manufacture and delivery will take from 9 to 12 months. So this is the major problem. It doesn't mean that we, for example, break a glass, and in some 20 meters away, we have a new glass to withdraw from a drawer. Usually all of this equipment takes a long time to procure. These are long-standing and very expensive contracts. Expensive, it's a secondary importance issue. You cannot go to a shop and buy it. You have to sometimes wait for up till 18 months, depending on the complexity of the equipment in question. But now you're working on a more stable energy system meant for Ukraine. Yes, indeed. We are working to make sure that power generation is decentralized, because the more we have independent, discrete points of generation of different capacity and dimension, and if they are installed in different places, then the grid to ensure power supply for Ukraine will be ramified, and of course the more it is, then the less vulnerable Ukraine will be. Thank you. Now a very small and quick question to everyone. What's the secret? You look super successful as a Ukrainian company, and we understand that there's a lot behind this success. A lot of international financial institutions and international investors are backing up you in this regard. So what's your secret? Give advice to us young and upcoming specialists in Ukraine who would like to foster the same kind of business. What is your experience of working with IFIs? First of all, let me put it this way. You need to install proper hygiene within your business. You need to take your business in a way that this is clear not only to you, but for the general public. So you have to ensure international financial reporting and accounting, undertaking all of the necessary approaches in making your feasibility studies, proper presentations, proper advisors, experts that you take on your projects, right specialists, lawyers inclusive. So all of this is a combination of all that. Apart from that, it's also a great deal of a great many wise people within your company who still want to move on, run forward. So this is the greatest success secret, ensuring success of any company. So there is not a secret about it all. No, nothing. So thank you very much for everything that you do. Now, Irina.
So, a bit more practical. What kind of projects are you looking for now? Because we really just, you see, or maybe criteria or maybe conditions for the company or projects that should be prepared, just that they have a chance to be financed by EBRD. Some practical stuff.
You know, criteria is different. When we finance directly, when the company supply to our facilities with their partner banks, and because partner banks, we follow them because, you know, we started actually this risk-sharing facility. We've done it for years, and it's a really great instrument because it's enable like providing only about 1 billion to commercial banks. We already, the multiplier factor is about 3 to 4. We already enable them to finance more than 3 billion. Provide loans, and then you follow their requirements, which usually transparency is one of the very important, whether you're small or whether you're large. Yeah, obviously you cannot afford, you know, all this, as I said, audited accounts. So it's a more easier probably access, and it's one of the first steps where you can learn how to work also through the partner bank with EBRD. For EBRD, you know, as I said, in addition to that, we provide assistance to SMEs. If you apply,
I will change the question. Okay. What are the main mistakes of Ukrainian business you see? That is why you refuse them to apply for you.
I think it's still down to transparency and integrity. If I can formulate it like, you know, in 2 words, yeah? So this is the key. The business should be transparent. And by the way, there is my colleague, our big project representing business ombudsman, who is working a lot. Actually, it's down to their business environment, yeah, in Ukraine, who is helping us a lot, actually, to improve the business environment. And I just, can I say, because you know what I want to comment, because it's what you said, everything is correct. Right policy, right approach, you know, improvement, deregulation. But it's also important how you treat the investors who are already in the country. And, you know, we have different, I would say, experience. That's why, you know, if we demonstrate in the country, this is how we keep and support our existing foreign and local investments, it's probably talks for itself. Yeah, you would agree with that, because we had different examples in the past. I hope we'll get over that. Yeah, and in addition to the banks, you know, it should be clear business vision, business strategy, business plan. You know, ability to bring to the bank their financially viable proposal where we can work together, we can review together, we do it together. And with existing companies, we're sometimes even helping them if they would like to access, you know, there is a new business idea. We are working together, yes, we review together your proposals, we look at to which extent it's viable, what we can support, how we can share the risks.
But the main thing is just transparency?
Yes.
Okay, so let's change our approach. Don't hide, just be open, even show your mistakes, and together with EBRD, you still have a chance to get the right approach and finally finance it.
Yes,
right?
and just one, what is the bankable project? It should be financial viable proposal, yeah? Because we are still the bank. We use a lot of grants, we use a lot of assistance, but it should be a bankable project, yeah? And this is where we can help to review together and say, look, this works, this doesn't work, this is how we can help. And I'm sure the same assistance commercial banks provide to the clients.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for just being optimistic. Даніло, повертаючись, все ж таки я не злі.
Danilo, I still want to get us talking about the market of investments because it's a highly competitive environment globally. Now there's a very high competition for investments. We're competing with our neighbors, Poland, Romania, the Baltic countries. What can the Ukrainian state, as a policymaker, present on behalf of Ukraine from the standpoint of incentives, support? Because we get to hear a lot from the government about investment nannies. How does that work? What are we working on right now? Thank you.
Both about internal and foreign business. I spoke about environment. We have to do the best for both sides. Якщо говорити про те,
When talking about what it is that we are doing and what we have to do, let me start by saying that first we have to lay foundations. Incentives come second. When half of your economy is in shadows, and for example, in the market of petrochemicals, you have 435 barrels which are black, which have no licenses attached to them to trade fuel, but they do trade. And they are available on the site of Oil and Gas Association, but for some reason law enforcers fail to see them, to deal with them. And then talking about allowances to be provided to them, well, possibly we can do that, but prior to that, we have to ensure the proper environment. We need to provide and make sure that there's a level playing field, there's a rule of law for everyone available, and cheap money, something that I didn't manage to finish talking about previously. I get to meet a lot of business representatives, SMEs, big business representatives. I'll be frank with you, it's not just because I'm dealing with taxes. I never get to hear about high taxes in Ukraine. They never articulate this issue in Ukraine. Instead, I hear about expensive money, about shadows, lack of war risk insurance. So the step that we made 2 weeks ago at the Parliament of Ukraine, we got the law approved concerning the institution of the development. It's a big bank of banks which will accumulate the assistance offered by our partners in order to fund our individuals and companies concerning loans with high level of risks, the loans which are not covered by usual commercial banks because they have to provide 100% securities for these loans, and this will definitely be detrimental to them. In frontline areas, no loans are issued, even 579, let alone usual standard lending, because the assets that people can use as security is non-liquid. So the people who had their assets in the amount of millions of dollars prior to the war cannot take out any loans because it's no good security, and this is a big issue. So the National Institution of Development, this is something that will be launched into operation on the 1st of January next year, and they will be implementing the programs which are already available, like 579, but they definitely need to be broadened. And of course, this will cover war risk insurance. Ensuring war risks is something that we definitely need to launch. So how much per one project? We have already enacted a law, and by the end of this year, we have an agreement with the Cabinet of Ministers that they will implement a respective program in frontline areas within 100 kilometers of the front line. They will ensure that by ICA and other private insurers will go beyond that, and then government insurers will also provide the coverage for insurance premiums. So this program will definitely be launched because it's been discussed not by us, but by the Prime Minister and the President. And I know that he is expecting the implementation of this program. Everything is already in place to launch it. When talking about incentives, look, the way I see it, it's not about incentives. because the industrial parks, investment nannies, benefits and allowances in the fields and sectors starting with DSCT, ranging from them and to all the way to Defense City, which we have just enacted. After a certain while, they will be detrimental and harmful rather than beneficial, so it's impossible to set up enclaves within the same legal regime. Inequality is always wrong and bad. So I'm sure that the task of the government, 1, 2, and 3 points, after peace, of course, is to ensure a level playing field and meeting the baseline needs which business have at the moment. Thank you, thank you. Our time is so little. So, Edward?
To announce what kind of fund it's a good opportunity you're gonna raise, and what will be the focus of what kind of projects are you looking for, or you believe in Ukraine, and just take a chance.
Thank you again, Igor. So the fund, which is called Atlantic Bridge Capital, is focused on many of the sectors that we've already discussed on the panel here today. So whether it's raw materials, whether it's energy, retail, the investment opportunities in Ukraine are just beyond what we can discuss on the stage. I believe that we can talk about Ukraine not just in terms of sectors, but the opportunity as a country here is significant. And while we're already speaking to numerous companies that are investable, and while there are challenges in terms of transparency, as we just heard, there are also companies that are doing the work and they're moving in the right direction. The support of government on that fact should be as significant as possible, because the quicker that we have compliance, whether it's on accounting standards or with respect to transparency, the quicker the money will flow into Ukraine. The war, I think, is an impediment, but it's not a reason for investment not to be coming in today. There are tremendous opportunities that exist today, and as was stated, first one in will certainly benefit from making these investments. So our goal is to be not just the first, but hopefully the biggest at a certain point. And the reason is very simple. We come from a country that has the financial ability to direct money in the direction of Ukraine in a way that very few other countries have. So I look to be not just the first on this stage to say that Ukraine has the ability to be the economic engine for Europe, but not just the economic engine for Europe, the region in whole. And I look forward to working with everyone in this room and on this stage to make sure that that happens, because while this may not be the country where I hold citizenship, I was born here, and I will do my best to make sure that this country catches up to where I live right now.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really optimistic, and thank you for being here and be optimistic about the future of Ukraine. So the next speaker, Timur. So you are a global company. You exist in different regions. How you see this? You're also in mining industry. How you see this strategic cooperation with the United States, and how you see this mineral agreement with the United States? Is it helps, or do you see advantages? How you see the development of this sector?
That's a great and pretty complex question. Thanks for asking. So we as Nexo have certain investment plans and development plans for UMCC. And in short, we can divide that in 3 stages. So the first one, what we call transformation phase, and we have successfully kicked off that phase like in June, July. First of all, we're talking about JOG study, that's International Estimation of Reserves and Resources, which makes the project bankable. And that's one of the things that is needed in Ukraine right now. Because many resource estimations that are available in the country right now, they're not bankable because they lack JOG estimation. So in parallel, we're launching business optimization and transformation process. And I believe that this process will take from 3 to 5 years. So basically, to unlock the full potential of UMCC as is. So the second stage was what we call expansion phase. And we believe that in order to have sustainable titanium production in Ukraine, we need to increase the resource base. So we're discussing new licenses and new acquisitions, and not only in Ukraine, but also abroad. And finally, we're talking about integrated supply chain and value-added production in Ukraine. Because once again, there was a good thing that Ukraine economy is powered by resources, so it's kind of resource-based economy. But I believe that it will be more knowledge and technology-based economy in the future, once the peace is here. So therefore, we believe that at the end of the long journey, we're going to have value-added production in Ukraine. So for like titanium and titanium products. So that's regarding our plans. Now, talking about US-Ukrainian Recovery Fund and the framework of the agreement and its effect on the industry. So I believe that this framework will allow us to address some of the challenges that we face right now. And the first one is de-risking investments in mining and insurance for large capex. That was a great point mentioned by my co-speakers here, talking about insurance for assets during the wartime. And we see it as one of the main challenges. Because if we're talking about mining as business, that requires huge human resources and huge investments in capex. I'll give one example, like practical example from our life. When we ran tender for JOG study, we had more than 10 participants from around the world, Canadian, US, UK, and so on. Like 8 of them dropped out because of lack of insurance for Ukraine. So people physically cannot go to Ukraine because of lack of professional insurance. Now we're talking to many suppliers of equipment, and again, we're facing the same challenge. So I believe that this framework of new US-Ukraine Recovery Fund will provide investors with mechanism to de-risk their investments in mining. And not only mining, but also in mining and critical infrastructure. Because again, I believe that the treaty now is like well beyond the mining. It's critical assets, critical infrastructure, energy, transportation. So I believe that it will play a very good role in de-risking investments. And also maybe in easing some regulations, like export control. Because again, for people who invest in mining, especially in rare earth minerals and metals, it's very important to understand and predict the process related to export regulation, because that will significantly affect the profitability and efficiency of any business. So that's like in short, the effect of that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So it's still optimistic, I think. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the panelists for your speeches. Because we're out of time, I'm really happy to have just one question. Probably somebody really wants to ask somebody, maybe to ask the tough question to Danilo. No? That's
Everything is clear.
The kids, yeah.
I'm the Deputy of Business Ombudsman. I have a question to Mr. Danilo, because I would really give an advice to the state is to give a stable and foreseeable partner. But one of the ongoing issues that we are working on as a part of the government, what kind of advice can we give to the head of the state state tax administration in the following case? By the Polish loan in Ukraine, the state customs service needs to build one of the border crossing transfers, and the tender for the solution of this problem was won by a Polish company, a very well-known one. And they were fulfilling their obligations according to the plan, but it happened so that the company and the loan was provided with all of the special conditions, no taxation, lots of benefits and so on. And unfortunately, the company went to the parliament saying that they had to face all of the value-added tax and all of the customs fees, and now we all know that Poland will be the next country to host Ukraine Recovery Conference, and Ukraine will be bringing lots of projects to Poland. And as part of the preparation to this event, the Parliament also takes part as speakers. How can we be present in the same panel with our colleagues from the state sector, where companies that are out there sitting in the hall, they are facing problems with the loans and projects and all of the obligations with the same agencies that issued loans and took on the obligations. Well, for cases like these, I believe that the only approach is to really give it proper study. Such cases are very widespread, and there were several of the same that already happened. And it is not only the issue of really relieving of this specific company, but also the VAT for the contractors that were not mentioned there as part of the deal when fighting for the tender. If the company really had the proper legal assistance, they would consult them and say that it is the company that's relieved of the tax and the fees, but not the contractors. So, apart from protecting the business, our role, our function is to give the proper explanation and the details of a certain case and not generalize too much, because any kind of generalization is by nature not 100% truthful, because any generalization has a bit of a distortion to them. If you analyze a specific case, then by analyzing these details, it is not just the tax service that is the wrongdoer here, or maybe that, and I'm very grateful to the Council of Business Ombudsmen, because you really handle case by case case-by-case situations, but sometimes you tend to generalize and mislead people. Okay, well, thank you so much. Well, I did what I had to, but let me just summarize and give a positive final remark that despite all of the challenges and the issues locally, including the tax administration, but Ukraine does have a huge potential to a chance to build back better. This is the main conclusions that we want to make. I really like this approach that we're not talking only about recovery, but we're talking about building back better. But it is all rooted in investment, and the foreign investments will be headed towards. It is all transparent and straightforward and full of trust. Therefore, if we need to make a conclusion from this panel, trust is the main foundation of recovery of Ukraine. Therefore, Danilo, the tax administration, needs to be someone we can trust, as well as the state and the government and the tax apparatus, and the institutions kindly place more trust in the private business. They are not all. Okay, okay, we're heading towards the finish, but I believe that it is a two-way avenue. So building trust happens on both ways, from both parties. I know these people, I communicate with them, and I understand deeply the problem of the customs, the tax administration, and so on. We do not have people there that we can just fire and import another team from some country like Germany and let them fill the vacancies. It is a path that is ongoing, and we need to walk it together, considering the problems and resolving the challenges. Okay, as a moderator of this panel, let me just conclude at a positive remark, and I want to thank our stars, our investors that believe in Ukraine, those that are not afraid of the tax administration and they're not even afraid of Danila Itmantsev. They are investing in Ukraine, and I trust that Ukraine has a really bright future looking ahead as long as we have such stars, and Ukraine will be rebuilt by the entrepreneurs. I'm confident about this. Of course, tax officers are also important, but the entrepreneurs are really the key. Those that are here instead of watching boxing, you will be the future stars of Ukraine. And so be brave, be aggressive, and reach out to IFC, EBRD, and the investors that believe in Ukraine. And all together along, we can fight Danila back.